Aloha and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be going over some tips, tricks, and information that I found would have been very helpful in passing my Hawaiian real estate exam. Please do not be discouraged if you do fail either portion of the test. I personally failed the national portion 3 times, so I completely relate to it feeling a bit discouraging. At the end of the day, failure is only progression, and these tests are designed to confuse you and make you fail. Came this far, so do not give up now. Without further ado, let's get into some tips and tricks about this test. I wanted to start off this video by giving you some background information on my personal experience. I did go with the Seiler School of Real Estate. It's an online-based course, and it's 60 hours over a 6-month period of time. I really went to this school because it was online, at my own pace, and the cheapest, fastest responding inquiry that I'd made. Professor was just reading off of a PowerPoint that he had made rather than giving you real life scenarios that you could actually implement. Every time you fail a test, you have to pay $5. A final test, you have to pay $25. There are no refunds or time extensions. So please do not make the same mistake that I did and read the facts before you sign up for a school. Overall, I did pass the course, thank God, and I went on to studying for my state and national portion of the exam. So yeah, pick whatever school you'd like, but definitely go with what your intuition is telling you. I wanted to go over what to bring on exam day. First of all, make sure you got a really great night's rest and do not drink wine until you fall asleep studying the day before your test, because I did that 2 times and I failed. Also, you are no longer allowed to bring a calculator, so do not worry about that. The actual exam will provide one for you, and they will also provide you a pencil and earplugs, so no need to bring either of those things. And lastly, you are allowed to bring outside beverages, but they do stay outside of the class. So I would personally bring a drink and a sweater just because I know I get cold. Now let's get into the actual tips that I would have found very helpful during my experience. And I wish somebody just looked at me and been like, Trin, this is what you need to study, and make sure that you do not stray away from it. Thing that you should make your biggest priority is vocabulary. Not just knowing the definitions, but how to implement them in real life scenario situations. Also, considering the vocabulary, make sure you know past, present, and future tenses of different words like buyer, seller, vendor, grantee. Whatever the case may be, they will try and trick you. Another thing that really freaking helped me to pass my test was a podcast called Aha Real Estate. He basically will go over everything that's super important on the real estate exam. Has over 100 videos of real estate students calling him, asking him a specific question that they remembered on the exam. I will link that down in the description below. Anyways, for the state portion of the exam, my professor grilled into my brain that this was the hardest portion of the test. So I made sure I studied this information the most. I would still recommend ingraining the Hawaii state part in your brain just because it is the harder portion of the test, but don't make the same mistake I did and just forget the basics, because I feel like I would have passed a lot sooner than I had and left a lot of the stress out of it. Something that I was very stressed about when I was taking this exam was the math portion, because I hadn't done math since college. So if you're not that great at math, please don't stress yourself out, because there's only 5 questions. So no matter what, if you only get 5 questions wrong, of course you're still gonna pass. The Hawaii Setback Shorelines, I will link a description down below with all of the information that has to do with that shoreline setback and the feet. Also PASH, which is public access to shorelines. This basically gives Native Hawaiians rights to access less than fully developed privately owned land related for religious and cultural practices / traditions. Another thing that I would really recommend setting up on is the land, elements, and water rights that are specific to Hawaii. A couple other terms that I found very important to know is avulsion, which is the act of land tearing apart naturally from the earth, which happens a lot in Hawaii just because we do live on an island. And then accretion, which is the gradual additions to land because of, for example, lava. Next, make sure that you know what the actual real estate commission does and how many members are on the actual commission. There are 9 members total, 4 from Oahu, 1 from Maui, 1 from Kauai, and 1 from the Big Island. So all 9 members are appointed by the governor. 4 of them have to be licensed brokers, 3 of them have to be licensed salesperson or brokers, and 2 of them don't hold any license whatsoever and just are a part of the commission. There are also some continuing education requirements. You have to have 20 credits every biennial year to continue being licensed in the state of Hawaii. The advertising requirements in HIR Chapter 99, some of them have actually changed as well, so your school should provide you with the updated changes. Know what to do in a lead-based paint disclosure and the information that you have to be giving to your clients. All property is recorded regular system and is recorded in land court. Abstract of title is not used in Hawaii. And Hawaii's system of land description is meets and bounds. It is also super important to know the zoning laws that pertain to Hawaii just because we do have such a small amount of land available to buy and sell out here because most of it's owned by the state. So there are lots of different zoning regulations and procedures that have to be followed. Now for the national portion of the exam. Things that I was unsure of, I wrote down and made sure I studied up for the next attempt. And I will fully admit I wasn't making it my #1 priority. It's not rocket science, but I had other distractions in life and responsibilities. So know the difference between a fixture and an appurtenance and which passes with the property and which does not, because they are different and there are a lot of questions on the test that exactly pertain to these terms. Know the difference between void, voidable, enforceable, and unenforceable. The difference is void simply just cannot happen. Voidable can happen, but there are contingencies that do not allow these contracts to be enforceable. For example, if a minor signs a purchase contract or a will/deed, that is voidable because if there were no contingencies, the contract could be followed through on. When dealing with enforceable and unenforceable contracts, the key question in your brain should be, will a court have a hearing over this? Enforceable means they will. Unenforceable means they won't, but it still can happen. For example, a lease that is shorter than a year time period, if that is not in writing, a court's not going to have a hearing over it because a specific term that is also used on the test is statute of frauds, which means that contracts have to be in writing. Eminent domain is the governmental power of taking property for the better use of the public, and condemnation is the actual act of doing it. And this is what I mean by knowing each term and how to implement them. So know redlining, steering, and blockbusting. These are all illegal discriminatory practices that are not advisable and can get you in a lot of trouble in real estate. All 3 of these terms also deal with 3 institutions. The redlining deals with lenders, steering deals with buyers and tenants, and blockbusting deals with agent discriminatory practices. So now we're going to go over the OREE rule. For example, OR gives, so lesser, vendor, grantor, optional. That means they give you the property for your pleasure. EE receives, so grantee, vendee, optionee, and lessee all receive the property because it makes them happy. Now we're going to go over some proration things. A debit is a charge, something to be owed, and a credit is a plus, something to be received. So items paid in advance are a credit to the seller and a debit to the buyer. Items paid in arrears are a debit to the seller and a credit to the buyer. Make sure you know these when taking the exam, just because I remember multiple questions having to deal with What does the seller pay? What does the buyer pay in a purchase contract and in a closing date? So those are definitely important things to know. Next, I would recommend setting up on your methods of ownership. So joint tenancy, tenancy by entirety, tenancy by severalty, and tenancy in common. One question I specifically remember that I was never educated on was mutual assent. So that means meeting of the minds. Also, offer and acceptance. For deeds, a quitclaim deed provides the least amount of protection. Know the difference between a special warranty deed and a general warranty deed. General warranty deeds offer the greatest protection. Recording is not an essential element for a deed to be valid. Constructive notice is recording the deed. Now lastly, make sure you know your land measurements. Remember multiple questions about a township, a section, and acres. It will try and trick you and ask you which is the biggest piece of land. Now that you have all this information, go pass your test. I know you're gonna kill it. And take a deep breath with me. Look yourself in the mirror. Remember who you are. I believe in you. I believed in myself, even though I failed a couple of times. Now go out and do it. I really, really hope that all of the information and tips and tricks that I provided for you help you along the way. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Once you pass your real estate exam, the lady will give you a packet of information of steps of what to do moving forward. You have to send in a $380 money order. You also have to send in your candidate screening responses to both portions of the exam. I paid extra $30 in priority mailing when I didn't need to if I would have just been patient and not in a rush. Please don't make the same mistakes I did and do it right the first time. Send in all the information that you need to send. And I would really recommend finding out a brokerage that can either recruit you or mentor you prior to you sending in your application to receive your license, just because it would be such a shame for you to send in all of these things and then put your license on inactive. Because after even signing with a brokerage and getting your license number back, there is so many things that you have to do afterwards, like signing up for the National Realtors Association, paying all the dues, signing up for the Realtors Association of Maui so you can get the multiple listing service and find out all the active new hot listings that are out. There's so many different things that you're going to figure out along the way, and I'm hoping that I can provide as much information that I found useful to you. But the truth is I'm still learning as well. You know, this is my first month of being a realtor and I'm having so much fun, but it is literally all of this information just like thrown at you all at once. Meeting people from different brokerages to kind of get a feel. Everyone's gonna say that their brokerage is the best and that they're doing the most deals. Please just go with your intuition, because I've talked to multiple real estate agents on the island from multiple different brokerages, and I really don't believe that there's one better than the other. It's all about your individual spirit and dedication to becoming a successful real estate agent. All of the information, resources, and things you need are accessible online. You don't need somebody there holding your hand, and I am doing it the most individual way. I've almost self-doubted or questioned myself if this was the best way to do it, just because I know that getting the training that is necessary to be able to succeed is important. But when I have all the resources accessible online, I don't really find myself doing better in a team environment. With your intuition, if you are recruited on a team, great, go with that. But I'm a true believer and everything happens for a reason, and the way that Real Brokerage LLC presented its opportunity to me was very random and almost meant to be. I told myself and committed to a full year with being a part of this brokerage, and I would recommend you doing the same, because it's always going to seem better, like the grass is greener on another side, because you're going to see other people succeeding and maybe you're not in the same level as them. But just remember, you're at level 1 and they're probably at level 30. Some people have been doing this their entire lives. You want to learn from somebody that has a hustle that you admire, somebody that you look at and you're like, wow, they're fucking awesome. You know, you don't want to learn from somebody that's a slacker. Follow your heart and your intuition. Whichever opportunity presents itself, that is what feels right for you. Go with it. I love meeting with other agents and networking and finding out what they do, and I admire all of the agents that I have met, but at the end of the day, we all have our own strategies and things that we would like to implement in our own ways. And sometimes that works better independently, and sometimes that works better with a team. It's really just up to you and what you work best with. Overall, I do hope that you enjoyed this video and found it very informational. I'm a newly licensed agent as well, so we are learning together, which is super, super exciting. This journey is so much fun, and you know, if you're not doing something that scares the shit out of you, you're probably not living your life right. So those feelings of your heart pumping, racing, self-doubt, those are all normal. So please don't give those emotions reactions, and just realize that every single thought is just a thought and it passes through you. If you are doubting yourself, remember it's very temporary. And sometimes it is good to doubt yourself, because that means that you are doing something that you're very passionate about and you're kind of scared of failure, rejection. There's always going to be that self-doubt lingering over you, but don't give it power. That is the most important key. Do not give your self-critical doubts and judgments power. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. To leave any comments down below. I love engaging with you guys and I'm here to be your resource. My next video that I am so excited to collaborate with, Lima Cocina and Cantina. I have been a part of Lima since the very beginning, so I'm very passionate about the culture and environment that we've created for guests and also our employees. In that video, I will be featuring a blind spirit taste testing with the owner. He loves to say that he could tell the difference between Fortaleza and Ocho Reposado, so let's just put that to the test because he's a Fortaleza hater. Just kidding. But no, I'm really excited because it's going to be so funny being able to collaborate with the owner and interview him about Lima and where he came from and what vision he had in creating this beautiful restaurant that I'm so lucky and blessed to be a part of. I've been a bartender for 5 years and this has literally, hands down, been the most amazing workplace I've ever experienced. I feel so valued, loved, and appreciated there.